Okay, we're up to the Mishnah Chavdal and Aleph. So the premise, the Mishnah is a continuation of the themes of the previous Mishnayos, where you have two items where it's the opposite. What's kosher for this is possible for this. What's kosher for this is possible for that. And the basic premise of this Mishnah is that Kehanim and Leviim have different rules. Kehanim, what disqualifies them is not age, but mumen. A Kohen can be 75. If he doesn't have a mum, he's fine. It's not age, it's disqualification from a mum. Leviim is the opposite. Now, Leviim, just clarify, this is not Leviim in the Beis HaMikdash. This is Leviim in the Mishkan. Leviim in the Beis HaMikdash had one role, and that was singing. Leviim in the Beis HaMikdash sang. Leviim in the Mishkan had two roles. They had the role of singing, but they also had the role of carrying and schlepping. In the Mishkan, their disqualification was not mumen, it was age. In the Mishkan, they were 30 to 50. So, 30 to 50. So, Kehanim are disqualified by mumen, not age. Leviim are disqualified by age, not mum. Zok the Mishnah, Kasher b'Kohen, Kehanim, Pasal Leviim, Kasher Leviim, Pasal b'Kehanim. The Gemara speaks out what exactly we're referring to. Taner Rabbanan, Kehanim b'Mumin Psulim. What disqualifies a Kohen is a mum. B'Shanim Ksherim, age is not a problem. They could be even old. The Gemara will define. There's a certain age where we say, okay, that sort of, a certain age turns into a mum, basically. But there's no age, there's no like hard stop. As opposed to Leviim, b'Mumin Ksherim, Leviim are kosher with a mum. Bishanim Psulim, but they're disqualified by age. Now again, this is only the Leviim in the times of the Mishkan, not in the Beis HaMikdash, because in the Beis HaMikdash it was singing based. Singing doesn't define based on age. You can continue singing when you get older. But in the Mishkan, when they were schlepping also, there was an age where no more schlepping. 30 to 50, zo. Zak the Mishnah, Zak the Gemara, Nimtza Kash b'Kehanim, possible Leviim, Kash b'Leviim, possible b'Kehanim. Minan Emili, how do I know this? The Tan Rabbanan, Zois Asher Leviim. This is the laws of Leviim. Matam Elohim. What do you mean this? Meaning when the age is dafka of Leviim. Leviim shneimar ben chamishim shana yashuv. The pasuk says that the Leviim should go from 30 to 50, and then they stop. Zois laman Leviim sheshana paislim behem yachol mumin paislim behem. You might think that the same way Leviim are disqualified by age, they should also be disqualified by a mum, which means that if a Levi has a mum, he can't serve in the Mishkan or in the Beis HaMikdash. And I make the argument. Now you'll say, well, what shaykh is a mum? Dinu, I'll make a kal v'chaymer. If kehanim are not disqualified by age, but they're disqualified by a mum, so you see a mum is a pretty quick disqualification. Leviim shashanim paislim b'hem, then Leviim which are disqualified by age, eina din shimum and paislim b'hem, kal v'chaymer they should be disqualified by a mum. Talmud loymar zois asher Leviim. Zois meaning the only disqualification for Leviim is age. Zois Leviim ve'nacheres Leviim, only disqualified just age is not mum. The opposite. Yachol yu kehanim paislim b'shanim. Now we know that kehanim are possible by mumen. Maybe they should also be disqualified by age, meaning once a kohen hits a certain age, 50, whatever it is, then he's out. V'dinu, I'll make a kal v'chaymer. Uma Leviim she'ena mumen paislim b'hem, shanim paislim b'hem, kehanim she'mumen paislim b'hem, eina din she'shanim paislim b'hem. If Leviim, mum doesn't disqualify by them, but they're disqualified by age, so you see age is a very quick disqualification. So then kehanim should be disqualified by age as well. I mean, it's the same premise. You should take the disqualification from the other. If you have something that doesn't disqualify them, kal v'chaymer, their disqualification should apply to you. So you have mumen and they don't have mumen, then you should definitely have age. Talmud loymar asher leLeviim v'loy asher leKehanim. Dafka Leviim are disqualified by age and not the Kehanim. Now, even the Leviim are only disqualified by age in the Mishkan. So the Gemara clarifies this. Yachol af b'shila u'bebeis ha'ilamim kain. You might think that the Leviim are disqualified by age in the Beis HaMikdash, where again their roles changed. In the Mishkan they were singing and schlepping. In the Beis HaMikdash they were just singing. So you might think the disqualification of age applies in the Beis HaMikdash as well. Talmud loymar la'avod avodas avoda. Avoda masa. The pasuk says after the disqualification of age, it says that they're doing the job, i.e., singing, va'avodas masa, and carrying, implying lo yamarti el bezman shavoda bekasef. The implication being that the disqualification of age only applies when they're schlepping, i.e., in the Mishkan. Once they got to the Beis HaMikdash, where they no longer were doing that role because the Beis HaMikdash was stationary, then obviously the disqualification of age does not apply. The Gemara clarifies. Now, we have one slight discrepancy. We know that the Leviim served in the Mishkan from 30 to 50. The problem is there's another pasuk that mentions 25. So is it 30 or is it 25? So the Gemara clarifies. One pasuk says in Perek Ches of This is I think Devarim. It says that miben chamesh ve'esrim shana l'mayla, that they're from the age of 25 and up, implying that they start serving at 25. Because of echad ben shloishim, but there's another pasuk that says that they start at the age of 30. So is it 25 or is it 30? So that's the question. Is it 25 or is it 30? So the Gemara says, now don't tell me that it's 25 to 30, meaning maybe they only have a very short service. The Levium only serve for 5 years, because we know there's also 50. So there's 25, 30, and 50. So how do you reconcile this? Again, there's 25 and 30. So which one is it? So the answer is, they start at 30, but they're trained for 5 years. They were taught for 5 years to serve, and then they started serving at 30. So it was a 5-year training purposes. So they start learning to do the avodah at 25, learning the songs, learning the instruments. I'm assuming the schlepping is probably not needed as much, but the breakdown, the serving, setting up, knowing how to do it. 5 years of training. Whatever that means. Whatever soldiers are training for years, what are they doing all day? They're doing whatever is necessary for this. So the Gemara says, obviously, they spent the time for 5 years. The point is, for 5 years, they're not serving in the Beis Hamikdash, they're learning. How often, how rigorous, I have no idea. So it says the Gemara, that you have that rocky montage of them just like working out for 5 years. So it says the Gemara, Mikan, l'talmid shalei ra, simin yafa, b'mishnasai chamesh shanim. Shuv in a roya. The Gemara says, you do learn from here for our own lives, is that if someone does not learn a trade for 5 years, he's not going to learn. 5 years, if a Talmud, let's say a Talmud is by a Rabbi, or a Talmud is a student of learning anything, if you've given it 5 years and it's not working, try something else. 5 years is the max, and bye-bye. So five years is the max for everybody. If you don't see success in the first 5 years, so Rashi explains it means that you learn and you forget, then you're probably not going to be matzliach in learning. Interesting. Why? Because you see that they said Beis Hamikdash had a 5-year training service. So you see 5 years is pretty much all that's needed to really master a certain thing.
But I don't think we don't hold that way in the sense that even if a person isn't successful.
Well, you have to learn because you still have a chiyuv to learn, but maybe you should know as you're learning.
Don't go into Rabbi.
Yeah, meaning know that it's not for it. Well, you still have a mitzvah to learn, but understand that 5 years is basically the amount of time that it should take to learn a skill. Now the Gemara has a different source. Instead of 5 years, the Gemara says it's actually 3. Rav Yossi he disagrees it's 3 years. Now where does 3 come from? Shenemar ulegadlam shanim shalosh lanim sefer lashon kazdim. Apparently Nebuchadnezzar took these Jewish young men, and he wanted them to learn the Chaldean, the Kasdim language. And he had them train for 3 years to learn the Kasdim language. So the Gemara says, 3 years is what it takes to learn a trade, not 5. So you have a source of 5, you have a source of 3. So the Gemara says, V'idach, the other opinion who says 5, what does he do with the fact that Nebuchadnezzar only had people learn 3? They respond, Shani Lashon Kasdim Dekalo. They say, well, learning the Kasdim language is not as hard, meaning a difficult skill set is 5 years. An easy skill set is 3. V'idach, and the other opinion who says that it's 3, what does he do with the fact that it took them 5 years in the Mishkan? Shani Hilchas Avodah Tkifin. He says it's different. The Avodah and the Beis Hamikdash are particularly difficult. So therefore, the Rashi explains it's the dismantling and the rebuilding of the Mishkan. That's very complex. That's very hard to do. That needs 5 years. But the average, skill set that you're, outside of that was a one-off. The average skill set is not as difficult. Okay. Tan Rabbanon Koyin. Now we said that the Kehanim are not disqualified by age. They're disqualified by moment. But that says the Gemara, Mishayavi Shtei Cyrus, a Koyin can start doing the Avodah when he has 2 Cyrus, right? He's 13, he has 2 Cyrus, he's now an adult. Achi Yazkin, until he grows old. Meaning once he hits a certain age, then he's not disqualified, but he's no longer able to do the service. So it's not meaning. There is a disqualification with age in that once you hit a certain age, as Gemara is going to clarify, if your hands start shaking, you can't do the avodah anymore. You're just not physically able to. The difference being is that Levium, there was a hard stop with age, regardless of strength. Kehanim, once you hit a certain point, then we gotta take the keys away from you. But Achiyaskin, once you hit a certain age, then we say you gotta stop. There is no hard set rule of what that age is. The Gemara will clarify. The Gemara says, Achiyazkin kashel avodah, umum poislim by, but they're disqualified by a mum. Ben Levi, but when it comes to Levi, it's just reviewing the halachas. Beben shloishim v'an bechamishim kash lavoida. He could serve from 30 to 50. B'shan and paislim, but he's disqualified by the age of 50. B'amed v'ormamurim ba'oil moyed shevamidbar. When is this disqualification of age? When they were in the Mishkan. Aval b'Shilo b'Seilamin. But once the Mishkan was stationary in Shiloh or by the Beis Hamikdash, ein nifsalim. What do they have to do? All they had to do was sing. So what disqualified you? Ela b'kol. What disqualified you is you're no longer able to sing with everyone else. I guess you hit a certain age where you just can't match their key or you can't keep up with them. That's when you were out. Amar Rav Yosi, Maikra, what's the source? Go to the next page. The pasuk says the trumpeters and singers sang together, implying that all that matters in the Beis Hamikdash for the Levium is you have to be able to sing together. If you can't, then you're out. It has nothing to do with age. By the way, if you can't do it when you're 20, you're out. Says the Gemara, Achi Yaskin. Now we said the Kehanim are kosher until they get old. What is old? Ad Kama, Amar Rav Allah, Amar Rav Chanina, Achi Shirtas, until your hands shake. Meaning once they're too old that they're no longer physically able to do the job anymore, that's when they're taken out. Now, the Gemara says a similar rule when it comes to a difference in halacha between older and younger, even though it has no shaykhs. We know that when someone has a seminal emission, you have keri, then you're tameh until you can't learn Torah. It's a kind of Ezra. You have to go to the mikveh. Now says the Gemara, Tanan Hasam, Bal keri, if someone who has a keri, shetoval, he sees keri, right? Goes to the mikveh. So okay, if you go to the mikveh, you're back to tar. But he didn't go to the bathroom yet. The halacha is that if he goes to the mikveh, then goes to the bathroom, then urinates, he's tummy again. Why? Because we're afraid that when the seminal emission, not all of it was expressed by the body, some of it was still in that part of the body, and when he urinated, it came out. Now, that's assuming that not all the keri leaves. That's only true with someone who's older. Someone who's younger, who has more strength, the keri is expelled from the body. Someone who's older has that more issues in that part of the body, so then that part of it is still going to remain behind, and it'll be expelled when you go to the bathroom. Says the Gemara, if he urinates afterwards, he's not tameh, because the concern is that part of the zera was still in the body, and he didn't expel it fully until he urinated. So what they would do is, after they would carry, they would go to the bathroom, then go to the mikveh. So says the Gemara, when is this true that you're tameh? Because we're concerned that not all the zera left him. It's dafka an ill person or an old man who is tameh. Meaning, it's dafka a sick person or an old man. But in a young person who's healthy, he's not. He's tahar. So in other words, it's dafka a zakin. It sounds like it's a zakin and a chayla. It's a zakin or a chayla. But if he's young and healthy, zakin or a chayla, that's when it's a problem. If young and healthy. Now, what we said before, see, this the reason why it's quoted over here is because you see a distinction between young and old. Now, when it comes to kehanim, what's old? The halacha is that he's no longer disqualified. Was a handshake because he can't do the avodah. When it comes to zera, what's old? That we're concerned that some of the zera didn't leave your body. That's more physical strength. That's not shaking of the hands. So says the Gemara, Yalad ad kama, Amar Avala Amar Chanina, Kol she'omer al raglei achas v'choylitz minolei v'noil minolei. If you're able to stand on one leg and take off your shoe and put on your shoe, if you have that level of core strength, I guess, then we assume that the zera is expelled fully. But if you're not able to do that, so it's not, yeah. If you can't do that, then you're telling me. Here, like Stefanski share, and they all fall over. Like they're all trying it, you know what I mean? They're all trying it, and they all fall over. The Gemara says, Amr Rav Chanina. The Gemara says about Rav Chanina, Shahaya ben Shmoinim Shana. Rav Chanina was 80 years old. He was able to do this at the age of 80. Now, how did he? What did he? Where did that strength come from? So the Gemara says, Amr of Chanina. Chanina says, Chamin v'shemen shesakanti imi bialdusi heinamdili beziknasi. When I was a young child, my mother would bathe me with hot water and oil. When I was a kid, and that made me physically strong enough that he had that strength into his 80s. Tanan Hasam. Now the Mishnah just says some rules about age by Kehanim. Nismal ziknai. Okay, so we said that a Kohen is able to do the Avodah when he's 13, when he has 2 Cyrus. But says the Gemara, that's not so pashut. Nismal ziknai, when he has a beard, meaning when it's not just 13, it's he shows more physical maturity, meaning he has a beard, which I think the Gemara says is closer to 20. Roy lasa shliach tzibar, then a person is able to be a chazan, to be a shliach tzibar. Yeah, the Rashi says it's not necessarily shlich tzibur, it's blowing the shofar. Yeah. Shlich tzibur in this case is not a chazan. I'm sorry. It's like doing something for the tzibur, blowing shofar, putting people in chayrim, whatever it is. Leiri lefnei hateva. It could be a chazan. Lisa's kapav, and if he's a kohen, he could do berachas kohenim. Meaning, according to this, you can't do berachas kohenim at 13. You can do berachas kohenim dafka when you have a full beard. We pass him 13, and according to some opinions, even younger. That's why you'll sometimes see kids that are brought up with their fathers. And when is a kohen fit to do the avoida? Mishiyavi shtei cyrus, when he's 13. Rabbi says you should wait till 20. So to Machlokes, Rabbi and the Tanakama, is a kohen able to do the avodah at 13 or is it 20? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Chizda, my time with the Rabbi, what's Rabbi's source that you should wait till 20? The pasuk says they appointed Levim at 20 years old to be supervisors to work in the Beis HaMikdash. Meaning, this is a pasuk in Ezra, that from the age of 20, the Kehanim were able to do the avodah. Now, the Gemara is going to point out, this is not the pasuk that we had before of 30, this is 20, that Ezra appointed the Levim at the age of 20 to do the supervisors in the Beis HaMikdash. Well, first of all, what's supervisors? The answer is this is Kehanim. It's a reference to Kehanim. Why they're called Levim, the Gemara is going to explain. Sometimes Kehanim are called Levim. As confusing as that may be. So really it says Levim, but it means Kehanim. So it's the pasuk is saying the Kehanim were appointed at 20 years old to supervise the work of the Beis HaMikdash. When they were rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash, the Kehanim were supervisors. So you see that 20 is the age where they should start doing. This is not really the Avodah, this is supervising, but it's the same. Says the Gemara V'idach, and what has the other respond? He says, no, Linatseach Shani. The Tanakama, who would say that you could start from the age of 13, he would say, the pasuk says 20. He says, yeah, to be a supervisor. You want to do the service in the Beis HaMikdash, 13. You want to be a supervisor, meaning you want to be a general manager. General manager is 20. Okay, so it's not... Now, they both agree that this pasuk is referring to Kehanim. It doesn't call it Levim. Doesn't this pasuk refer to them as Levim? There are 24 places in Tanakh where Kehanim are called Levim, and this is one of them. Tanur Rabbanon, another source. Now, we said before it's a machlokes, Rabbi and Tanakama, whether Kehanim could do the avodah at 13 or 20. So this brisa says like this: Ish mizaracha l'doresam, mikan amar Rav Elazar katan pasla avodah. It says ish, which implies a gadol, which means that a katan cannot do the avodah. Va'afilu tam, even if he's physically healthy, it's not a mum. A 12-year-old cannot do the avodah. Me'emas ha'koshel avodah. So when is he koshel avodah? Mishayavi shtei cyrus, from the age of 13. Avol echa v'kehanim ein manichan oisel avodah asher ben esrim. So this brisa is interesting. This brisa says that you're kosher from 13, but the kehanim practically would stop you till 20. The question is, this is a little bit strange because till now we had 13 or 20, like hard stop. This one says 13, fine. This one says 20. Not before 13. Now you have this brisa that says, you're kosher from 13, but practically Kehanim would stop you. They would not allow you to do it. They would say, wait till you're 20. So the question is, now this brisa implies, so the Gemara says, Ikad Amri ha Rabbi. Some say that this brisa is actually the sheet of Rabbi, Vafilu Pasad Rabbanon Leslie, because Rabbi holds, meaning that really this brisa is Rabbi, and when Rabbi said 20, he didn't mean that it's possible before 20. He just meant practically. Meaning, when Rabbi said 20, he didn't mean that min ha-Torah you can't do it till 20. He just meant practically they will wait till 20. So this brisa is actually clarifying Rabbi's shita. And some say, no, Rabbi Islay Psuma de Rabbanon. No. Rabbi Taka holds that you're puzzle de Rabbanon before 20. And this is the Rabbanon. So wait a minute, I thought the Rabbanon say 13. According to this meaning, you had 13 and you had 20. But then you have this brisa which says you're kosher from 13, but practically, l'chachila, don't do it till 20. So who is this like? So first opinion is that that's Rebbe. When Rebbe said 20, he didn't mean that it's also before 20. He meant l'chachila, wait till 20. Or the second shot is this brisa is really the Rabbanon. Rebbe Taka holds your puzzle the Rabbanon before 20. This brisa is the Rabbanon, and even the Rabbanon who say that you're kosher till 13, l'chachila, you should wait till 20. Let's just finish up the daf. The next halacha is very simple, and that is when you have kalim and tumah, there's different types of kalim. There's earthenware kalim and non-earthenware kalim, and they have different halachas. Very simple. What's the different halachas? Non-earthenware kalim, like this metal cup, becomes tummy from the outside and the inside. You touch the inside, you're tummy. You touch the outside, it's tummy. Earthenware kalim are not like that. If you touch the outside of, if something tummy touches the outside of earthenware kalim, it's not tummy. So that's one difference. And another difference is, if you hang a tumah inside an earthenware kli without touching it, it's tameh. as opposed to every other kli. So every other kli, you have to touch the surface, be it inside, be it outside. Earthenware kelim, you touch the outside, it's not tamei, but if you hang it in the inside, even though it's not tamei, it is tamei. That's it. Zok the Mishnah, tahar b'kli cheres, tamei b'kol kelim. Tahar b'kol kelim, tamei b'kli cheres. Halachas are not the same. Just to review what this is, Tan Rabbanan, avir kli cheres tamei. The inside of the airspace of a kli cheres is tamei, meaning merely hanging it in the inside causes tuma. V'gabei tahar, but if the tamei item touches the outside of a kli cheres, it is tahar. But the opposite is true with the other kalim. Aver kol kalim tahar. Other kalim do not transmit tumah through their airspace alone. The gaban tamei, but if they touch the exterior, they are tamei. Nimsa tar b'kli cheres tamei b'chol kalim tar b'chol kalim tamei b'kli cheres. Minal immediately. How do I know this? The Tanur Rabbanan, because the pasuk says regarding the kalim tocho. The avabi shalei naga. Tocho means inside. Even if you don't touch it, just merely being in the airspace, the inside of the kli, it is tamei. How do you know the tocha means you didn't touch the earthenware inside? Maybe it means dafka if you touched it. Meaning you're saying tocha means merely being in the airspace transmits toma. Maybe it's dafka if you touch it. Rav Yosef ben Avtul Masaymer nema tocha l'tamei. It says the word tocha regarding earthenware kalim contaminating. V'nema tocha l'tamei, and it also says, yeah. Regarding tocho, regarding contaminating the food inside the earthenware kli, and it says tocho regarding contaminating the kli itself. Ma tocho amar latame. Just like when it comes to the food, afal pi shelo noga, even if the tumah does not touch the food, right? If the kli is tamei, it'll automatically transmit to the food. So you see that it doesn't have to touch the food. Af tocho amar latame, afal pi shelo noga. So to tocho regarding the kli itself, the tamei item does not have to touch the kli. Merely being in the airspace is enough to transmit tumah. I'll stop it.